This is Bob Fitrakis bringing you the other side of the news on WGRN 94.1. I'm speaking with Roger Hill, an old ally in the struggle for justice. And again, in this past year, he's been focusing as a filmmaker on a video that I'm somewhat familiar with from some of my own reporting over the years, like cops cover up and corruption. But a long time ago, even prior to that, you remember, of course, since you made it, your video known as Struggle, which I thought had some of the most incredible footage of the inauguration.
God put us on this earth to struggle.
He feels like he can put his hands in my breast and push me with all his strength, and he can do that.
I think this is possibly a new form of voter suppression. I've been hearing several complaints where people say I went through the entire line and then they told me that for one reason or another I had to go back and go through the line again.
3 or 4 hour wait's a long time for a working family.
Is this the place the Board of Elections told you to go?
Yes.
You go in there, and will you tell us what they told you?
They told me that I still was not allowed to vote.
I felt I was in some time where we were looked upon as being black and we were looked upon as being Chad-Eye. We were looked upon as being 2/3 man or something.
It is high-tech Jim Crow. Voting should be one of the easiest things that anyone could do.
When I did get to my machine, I pushed John Kerry, and my vote immediately jumped up to George Bush.
Come on, bro. We gotta get these cuffs on you, right? Just trying to get you out of here.
That was the film that nearly broke me as a filmmaker, but it definitely.
What do you mean by that? Tell our listeners.
You know what, Bob? You would probably be the one to understand this. Just the feeling of being overwhelmed with the amount of evidence that came out indicating election fraud and vast voter suppression in that 2004 presidential election. So, for me to distill that into something watchable in under an hour was incredibly challenging. But I am happy to report that the film has actually found a bit of a new life.
Thanks to Donald Trump and Roger Stone, who interviewed me twice.
Right.
And said I was right.
Yeah, right. An outlet called, I don't know if you're familiar with Means TV. They picked it up last year. It's kind of like a socialist, anti-capitalist Netflix, Means.tv. So they've got a couple of my documentaries on there, including Struggle. But yeah, the inauguration was very intense. I think Well,
you didn't see that on mainstream corporate media.
No, you didn't see any of that.
Well, it actually happened. That's why you didn't get to see it.
Right, exactly. If it was a fantasy, it would have got plenty of play, but because it was real, they decided it was not palatable to the audience, I guess. But yes, that's how we got our start working together. And yeah, it's nice to see you again.
Well, how are you doing? You were in San Francisco. Now you're back in Cleveland.
Doing good, all things considered. It's been nice to be back in Ohio, back in the fight, so to speak. San Francisco is a bit of a bubble, so it's nice
not a red city.
No, not at all. So I feel good to have my boots back on the ground here, and been doing some documentary stuff, getting back into documentary stuff. So it's been good.
They won't be truly back on the ground till you get some good police abuse.
Yeah, right. Which is a good segue to my current project.
That's right. Your new documentary, and which is part of the series. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the documentary series is called State of Injustice. You can check it out at stateofinjustice.com. My friend and colleague, Brian Douglas, was approached by Black Lives Matter Cleveland to do a video telling the story of the death of Luke Stewart. Luke Stewart is a young Black man in Euclid, Ohio, who was sleeping in his car, was awoken by two cops jumping into his car, literally one of them jumping into his car. We don't know what happened because the cops didn't have their dash cams on, though they were supposed to. Neither of them were wearing body cams. So all we have is the telling of the cops' side of the story. However, we were able to get the audio of them relaying that story to the Bureau of Criminal Investigations. And even though they had time to prepare their statements, it's still pretty damning and self-incriminating. On top of that, we provide interviews with the attorney of Luke's family and archival footage from different sources, such as the Euclid City Hall. Euclid Public Library does a great job of recording the City Hall meetings, and we found all kinds of incredible footage in there too. So
a lot of this was public records that nobody was using.
Yeah, exactly. We are the first people to publish the BCI audio, and the first people to dig through the City Hall footage as well, the City Council footage. So the first episode is the story of Luke Stewart, and in investigating this, we found a dark well of corruption and abuse plaguing the Euclid Police Department, enough so that we have content for 3 additional episodes, which will be staggered over the next few months.
Well, that's nice when you got a series. Well, you know, Ohio police, it may end up being a couple decades long.
Yeah, sadly, there is no shortage of corruption to report on. Yeah.
So what was the outcome in the Luke Stewart case?
The 2 officers were both cleared of any wrongdoing. The officer who shot Luke 5 times was put back on duty within 5 or 6 days, I think, remains on the force, patrolling Euclid. There's a civil suit pending. I don't know the outcome to that yet. And actually, this will be covered in episode 4, but citizens filed criminal charges against Officer Matthew Rhodes. So again, that actually did not get bounced. That is going to move forward. It was assigned to prosecutor, and that's where it stands right now. So a lot of it is still very fluid.
Well, I noticed you have an Indiegogo page for your film. You need to raise a little money and want to make a pitch?
Yeah, so if you go to stateofinjustice.com, it'll take you right to the Indiegogo page. You can watch the first episode right there on the page. Black Lives Matter Cleveland is the executive producer of the project. And you can get more information about the subsequent episodes there too. So stateofinjustice.com, it'll take you right there. You can watch the first episode. We did the first episode as a proof of concept, and now we need to raise money to finish the subsequent 3 episodes.
And when did this happen, with Luke, with the police murdering him?
March of 2017. And it's actually been getting a little bit of attention recently nationally. There was an article in Suzanne just called me 30 minutes ago to set this interview up. I forget. I think it was the New Yorker. If it wasn't the New Yorker, it was.
Well, it's like some of your early projects that were quite good.
Right.
Spontaneous.
We'll just say it has been getting new attention, so that has been good. But we also investigate other high-profile police use of excessive force on other Euclid residents between 2016 through 2020. And so there's a lot more to it. Luke's case is a big case, but there's more to it than Luke's case.
And probably far more people are familiar with Tamir Rice, another case there where the police were not held accountable. So this should be interesting to bring out Luke's case a little more to the public. And will that be part of the series?
We have had discussions with Tamir's mother, Samaria Rice, and it possibly. We started with the case of Luke Stewart because that was what we were approached with by BLM Cleveland. I think the next season, though, we're going to go to East Cleveland because East Cleveland is fraught with violence and corruption. And then I think we'll just keep migrating to Cleveland, including Tamir Rice and a variety, several other less known incidents of police killing Black people.
And were there other events in Euclid? Was there a history there of racism?
Yeah, definitely. So Euclid it's a suburb of Cleveland, about 50 or 60,000 people. Originally, it was a majority white suburb, but over the last 20 years or so, there's been a steady migration of African Americans into the city, and it's now about 50-50. However,
what's the police department? 50-50?
No, the police department is about 95% white. I know
God-fearing occupying army.
Yes, very much so, and it's not even just that, but it's a lot of the police on the force were fired from other police departents. It seems that
only the best. They had to have the resume. You've been fired for abusing a citizen.
Yeah, right, exactly. Michael Amiot, for example, who has been involved in several high-profile use of force beatings of innocent people. He was deemed too crazy to work in Menor. So Menor.
And if you're too crazy for Menor,
exactly.
There's only a few places left on Earth.
Yeah. So Euclid is the sort of refuge for shitty cops. Oh, I don't know if I can swear on this. For bad cops. Yeah. And of the 2 or 3 Black police officers, one of them was eventually fired for domestic violence. However, he and Michael Amiot each have gotten both have gotten their jobs back through binding arbitration in the police contracts. So
binding injustice to the police union.
Exactly. So it takes it takes a pretty extreme amount of reckless violence to get fired from the Euclid Police Department. And there actually have been 3. 2 of the 3 got their jobs back. The third pulled his gun at a bar, got into a fight with Hell's Angels, had a DUI, was arrested for shooting his gun into Lake Erie. He was fired and then came back in 2020 and shot and killed himself in the lobby of the Euclid Police Department. So there's just so much toxic energy surrounding that department and its police chief mayor that 4 episodes is kind of the minimum needed to crack into it all.
And are you going to go into? We only got a couple minutes left. You're going to go into any sort of reform ideas?
Yeah, there will be, in season 4, and parsed throughout. A lot of it is just to sort of open people's eyes and to inform them what's happened and what is happening in Euclid, and to teach people about things like qualified immunity and binding arbitration and what that means when it comes to the attempt to remove toxic police. but yes, I think probably in the 4th episode, there will be a little more concentrated effort to present solutions.
Well, Roger, in this last minute, I'm thanking you for appearing on the other side of the news, WGRN 94.1 FM, The Green Renaissance, streaming live on WGRN.org. So they'll know your face there. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming up to the show. Oh, and the Indiegogo.
Yep, just go to stateofinjustice.com. And that'll take you to the Indiegogo page.
All right, and he's got enough materials to go at least 4 decades.
Yeah, probably.
To Ohio, maybe longer.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, thank you, Bob. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.